Here, new me, who are you, boy? If you're in my way, you better move, boy. I don't ever miss a cue like schoolboy. Ain't no telling what I'ma do, boy. Ha, 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 ha. I bet you thought you had me figured out, but nah. I'm way too unpredictable. I'm so freaking dope, I make you flick your nose. I got tricks up my sleeve like here's a rose. Whoa, it should be evident I am so elegant and focused on getting M's, cause I couldn't get the Letterman back then. But now we moving up like the Jeffersons. I can't quit now, cause if I do I won't get severance. This year I'm trying to be one with the elements and stay away from vibrations that I shouldn't meddle in. I'm shocked they do not relish in the present tense. Must have forgot that I'm hot and I'm heaven sent. What's a trend? I don't give a damn about being relevant, but then again I'm trying to be the light with all this melanin. How can I go this hard and still be considered a gentleman? No, I ain't normal, me indifferent are synonyms. New year, new me, who are you, boy? If you're in my way, you better move, boy. I don't ever miss a cue like schoolboy. Ain't no telling what I'ma do, boy. Ha, 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 ha. I bet you thought you had me figured out, but nah. I'm way too unpredictable. You can keep the dough, I'ma keep my soul. They tryna butter me up, cause I've been on a roll. No roadhouse, I can make it hot when it's cold out. Slow it down, I'ma stand still, strike a pose now. Became one with the elements, you all exposed now. Even the chemical brothers say I'm under control now. Curtis said death is wished upon me by many men. When you in the hood, you die easier than Kenny them. Some don't have a vision, I wish I could lend a lens to them. Some don't listen to truth, I wish that I could lend an ear to them. Some people scared to chase a dream, I guess failure put the fear in them, but I'ma still try to cheer for them. I'ma still be here for them. I'ma try to make a path clear for them, cause once I make it, you won't see me shed a tear for them. New year, new me, who are you, boy? If you're in my way, you better move, boy. I don't ever miss a cue like schoolboy. Ain't no telling what I'ma do, boy. Ha, 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 ha. I bet you thought you had me figured out, but nah. I'm way too unpredictable.
Hello, welcome to the Tech Disruptors podcast with Darren and Jason. How you doing, Jason?
Good.
Welcome to the show. So for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, or maybe are a regular listener, which you should be, we are the Tech Disruptors. We talk everything to do with tech, tech-related news, interesting stories, sometimes even we call people out on their bullshit, but we won't get into that now. But we are back for another week. And as always in the world of tech, it's been a very interesting development over the last couple of weeks. And this week especially, the release of the Apple Vision Pro.
Can I tell you something? I'm really tired of the Apple Vision Pro. It dominates everything.
My goodness, on social media, it has been a fucking shitstorm. There has been so many people posting about their experiences with the Apple Vision Pro. It's actually a little bit embarrassing. Like I've been going on. So I check my Twitter in the morning when I wake up. My X.
Formerly known as Twitter.
X.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And like just inundated with posts about the Apple Vision Pro. But you know, the thing that kind of makes it interesting is it's interesting to see who purchased the device. So obviously you and I follow a bunch of people in the tech space because that's what we do. That's how we get our news. That's how we get our content, if you will, and their experiences. But there is a lot of people who bought the Apple Vision Pro, like a lot of people.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I'm assuming pre-ordered it, maybe not, but I saw a bunch of people just, now I say bunch of people, it's not normal like you and me people, it's people in the tech space, but they're just walking into the store and they're saying there's nobody there. And I even saw a few pictures of like the display and there's not even a person around looking at it. And they went in, grabbed it and walked right out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I saw someone post a picture of like a colonial person with a cup of tea, and they're like with the Apple Vision Pro, and it's like people who own it looking down at all us peons as they wear it, you know.
Well, I mean, we were talking before we went on air today
Mhm.
about, is this going to be a success for Apple? And we both agreed that we kind of think they might be onto something here.
Mhm.
And as I think being a first generation device, and I always think back to like the Apple Watch. And if you remember the Apple Watch, like Series 0, if you will, that beautiful solid gold, sapphire crusted thing of
Not real
beauty.
sapphire, of course.
Yes. But I don't know if you remember, it
Yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
astronomically priced, like insanely priced for an Apple device. Even more so than the Apple Vision Pro, I think. I think it was more expensive than the Apple Vision
I
Pro.
don't remember, to be honest with you. It's been so long.
Um,
I didn't really
I mean-
follow Apple at first. I mean, I followed them, but I didn't really. I was more of an Android guy, but now I'm kind of a mixed bag of both. So
Yeah. Well, the point I'm making is that, I'm starting to think that $3,500, maybe it's not that much money. Am I like
okay,
fucking
no.
poor?
Okay. So
Like,
here's
am I
how I
like-
look at it. It had a lot of expectations, and it still does. And I'm not saying it's not going to
Yeah.
be a good device. We all know Google's is just as guilty as any other company when they have a first product like this. I remember Google Glass when it first came out, and that was probably what 2014. I don't know,
Yeah.
and that was $1,500 when it came out. And
Yes.
and they had some beta testers, and I was one of them. And I thought it was worth it because the things it could do, nothing else could do at the time.
That's exactly right.
It was
Yeah.
cool. But Apple Vision Pro doesn't, to me, from what I've read, they're like, oh, spatial computing. It can do AR, MR. So can a lot of other devices. That's what the good thing about it is it's high quality. It's got awesome
Of course.
screens, good cameras. It can monitor your hands, but so can the Quest. And it's
Yeah.
a third, not even a third, a sixth the price. But like you said, is it going to be a success? Right now, it doesn't seem like it is, but Apple won't let it fail. How many times has Apple had anything fail besides a charging pad and a
Yes.
plastic phone? So
Well, I mean, even the plastic phone was a success for Apple. They
and
sold.
the mini series,
Yeah,
it
and the
didn't
mini-
sell very
yeah.
well, but it wasn't a failure. It just didn't sell
It
as
just-
well. Yeah.
And that's exactly my
failure?
point. So no, it's not.
Oh,
no,
no.
I mean,
So
I
if
mean,
you and
you
me,
remember-
if you and me developed a product tomorrow and we sold
yes,
200,000 devices, to us, that's a great whatever the product would be. The
Yeah.
next year we sold 150. The next year we sold 100. That would be considered a failure because we're so small, we
Yeah.
can't take a hit like that. Apple sells 10 million, and oh shit, we didn't sell 30 million.
we didn't make any money. Oh damn,
We
Yes.
didn't make enough money.
Yeah, we didn't make enough money. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know. Looking at these people who have purchased a device, and a lot of them are what we call early adopters.
Mhm.
People that are trying it. They want to be the first person to say, "Yeah, we tried it." And if you've looked online at any social media about the Apple Vision Pro, the general gist has been that people enjoy the device. They think it's something special, revolutionary, new.
Can I ask you a
But
question?
they always, yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
that's
If
okay.
you're going to spend $3,500 on a device, aren't you going to be kind of like, you know what? You're going to make yourself think it's that good because you spent that kind of money.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously.
and fair
That's how I
point.
would,
Yeah,
I don't know. And if you're an Apple fan, you're not going to say it's a failure because that's against what that's a bias you have. It's not going to be. I don't know. I'm just stretching here. Maybe I'm wrong, but
listen, this is going to piss off a lot of Apple fans, but I almost feel like with every Apple device, not just the Vision Pro, but the iPhone, the Apple Watch, etc. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it matters what it is. People are going to buy it because it has an Apple logo on it. Now, the Vision Pro is a new product from this company, and it's the first new product we've had since the Apple Watch Ultra, which was 2 years ago now. So I should correct myself. The first new looking product that
Yeah,
we've had from
I
Apple for
agree.
some time. I mean, we've had refreshes and design slight.
This is a totally
design
different
changes.
product, though. This is not something they've
It
never done
is.
before. That's what you
No,
mean.
and exactly right. And I think when they announced the Apple Vision Pro, it was Apple's way of kind of showing us a little bit behind the curtain about what they believe mobile computing will be. And what they envisage maybe our world might be like in the near future. And I mean, it's an interesting concept. It's an interesting thought. But as with always it being a first generation product, there have been some interesting observations, I'll say, about the Apple Vision Pro that I just kind of wanted to touch on.
Bluetooth disconnected.
I don't know what that was. And my headphones just decided to talk to me randomly, which was super weird. But
I didn't hear anything. Okay.
No, you didn't hear anything. It went to me, and I was like, okay, cool. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the digital avatars that Apple Vision Pro creates.
But before you say it, you got to preference this with saying it's is it beta or alpha? Is it alpha or beta?
I think it's alpha, maybe.
And what's interesting, well, you go ahead and talk about it. It's your
No, go ahead. I'll pull up an image. You
I
tell
love
me
how I love how they scan the face. So you put the thing in, because it's got cameras all around it, and you actually put the Vision Pro right in front of you, and it tells you to, kind of like Face Unlock. Look to the side,
Yes.
look to the side, look up, look down. And this is I mean, I hate to say this, it looks blurry, but that's kind of what it is. I mean, for what you're paying, for what you're doing with a, it's creepy.
Yeah.
But no one else is doing it. So they made a big deal out of how it looks fake, but I don't really care. I mean, it's something I wouldn't do, but it does look kind of comical. I mean, it does.
And to be honest, like, okay, so I know we talked a little bit about this last week, but just to give the setup here, you're wearing a device that goes over your eyes.
Correct.
It can't actually see your face. So what the Apple Vision Pro does, you flip it around, it scans your face and creates this super creepy.
Don't forget, it tells you to smile too, with teeth and without teeth.
Yes.
It's
yeah,
so weird.
which is, I don't know. But it creates essentially a digital avatar. So it
Right.
creates a digital avatar of your face so that when you are on a FaceTime call, which I actually think is an amazing idea for a VR headset. I like the concept of this, but it still is kind of in a very infant kind of way. It's not going to be perfect right now,
No,
but that's
uh-uh.
not to say that it may not get better. These are just an image that I pulled off of X here, but this is three people.
Big in the tech field, of course, and they all three own the device. Either whether they paid for it or not, we don't know. But yeah, it's iJustine, MKBHD, and forgetting his name.
Yes.
But he's with a big publication too, and I've watched a lot of his stuff. It's just
it's a little odd. Just a little.
the other thing I've noticed with these users. I get tired of watching the same thing because most of them are saying the same thing. It's cool, but it's not. So it's it's revolutionary, but it's not. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, this isn't a gaming device. This is like a world computing. And they said,
Communication device?
Yeah, but they have the little crown that you can roll, and you can go in and out of, AR, mixed reality, whatever. And it has these like 12 like wallpapers, I guess, that are like supposed to be scenic. And you can tell from what I've read, you can tell it's just a big picture, and you're kind of looking at it. And I don't know if this is the right time to bring it up, but Meta Quest 3, I keep bringing it up because I like the device and it's a lot cheaper than this. They released the ability to watch spatial, I think, photos and videos.
Yes.
As well
right,
as
the day before, I believe it came out.
Right. And now they've always had hand gestures and they can track your hands as well, but now they have pinching capabilities. My question to you is Mark Zuckerberg and his team over there at Meta going to develop something where we can turn the Meta Quest around and do the same thing with scanning our faces? Or use your phone or something, Why wouldn't Apple do that? Why wouldn't Apple use the 3D scanning and just do it on your face and then upload it? I mean, instead of having to use the device itself, everything's interconnected. But
I think, well, first of all, I think the Facebook one is probably going to be those super creepy, like animated avatars that the Facebook Meta world uses.
Right now they are, but it'd be interesting to see if, well, I mean, you can't really video chat with the Quest. Like, I don't think it has, whatever. I don't know.
Now, the question I was going to ask you is, okay, let's hypothetically.
Yes, I order 3. No.
Yes. So hypothetically, you order an Apple Vision Pro. And I know, you being in your day job there, I'm imagining you probably take at least 1 or 2 video calls every now and then. Perhaps. Okay. If you turned on your Zoom and you were Zooming as this digital Apple Vision Pro avatar, what would be the comments that you would get if they saw your face looking like this?
the general person who did not know me would be like, "What the hell is this?"
Yes.
But the people that know me are going to know he's got his Vision Pro or something he's doing with tech.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. But this is an Apple only problem because you're not going to be calling with Google. You know, you can FaceTime with Android now. What's the web app? So
yes.
if one of my friends happened to buy this and FaceTime with me, I guess I do have an Apple phone. I think I would. I don't know. I'm usually envious of people getting new technology like this, but this is something I'm not quite that interested in. It's nothing excitingly new, and I don't use Mac OS. I don't use a lot of that stuff. So to me, this is not exciting. But yeah, it looks like, guess what he said? It looks like CGI from, well, now.
Sorry, that looks good.
The Flash movie's not that bad. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, listen, again, it's in its infancy, so we have to we have to treat it for what it is.
Yeah, but infancy, and you just pay $35, and that's for the lowest tier. I think MKBHD said he bought the 1 terabyte, which was like, what, $3,900 or $3,800?
Yeah.
Pre-tax?
Now, besides the shitty avatar creation, there's something that caught my attention this week, and I thought this might actually be a bit of a deal breaker for some people. So I don't know if you know this, but there was an article that came out today on The Verge, and they were talking about an issue with the Apple Vision Pro that I think is huge. So the Apple Vision Pro does not have any Find My Location tracking at all. For a $3,500 device, that's insanity. I'm sorry.
Because you can get the Apple Watch SE for $150 and it's got Track My Home.
Bingo.
You can find it. And being in the position that I'm in at work, we use Find a Device quite often to help us find things. And not that I'm going to be looking for a Vision Pro where I work, but that's crazy to me.
Well, I mean, look, I'm a clumsy person. I can admit that. I leave my keys in my wallet and I can never remember where the fuck I put them. So I don't know, man, like a $3,500 VR headset. And look, I'll give you an example. Let's say...
Nope. Spatial computing device. It is not a VR headset. Come on.
Thank you. I don't want to get flagged by Apple again, but let's just hypothetically, right? So you're sitting in a cafe and you're flicking your fingers and watching fucking Disney Plus.
And you can't see anybody around you.
Yeah, you can't see anybody around you. But, you know, how many times have you done it where you just put something down, you go, I need to just go into the washroom, and you quickly duck into the washroom, you come back, and, you know, most of the time your shit's still there. But...
well, then it's flush the toilet.
Well, there's that, yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very easy to just leave this somewhere.
But here's my thing. I think Apple, like my Quest, I'm not taking it to the office. I'm not walking outside with it because you're not supposed to use it outside, at least for the Quest. But I would imagine most people who are spending money on this are going to stay at home with it. So the chances of losing it are pretty low. But another thing, you're saying taking it to a cafe or something or Starbucks. What if you're sitting at home and you set it in its container and you go to bed and someone breaks into your house?
Yeah. I mean there's even
simple
that. It could be anything. So I don't know. I find it. That's very bizarre to me. And I mean, like you said, even the most base model Apple Watch SE has that with Wi-Fi enabled. That has Find My Location.
It's based on iPad OS too. So I'm confused. So let's say I stole somebody's Vision Pro. Obviously, it's going to be linked to their account. So how would you be able to use it anyways? See, I don't know enough about the software.
When there's a will, there's a way, I guess, right? And I mean, how do you unlock an iPhone that's been stolen? There's lots of people out there that do it.
I would have no idea. I would never steal anything.
Well, no, and that's my point. But there is going to be someone out there who figures out how to reset this and unlink it and do all that.
It can't be complicated, but
it can. No, I mean, shit. If you've already shared your data with Beeper, one of the developers from one of those places can go, oh, well, I have this guy's Apple ID. Oh, look at that. Receipt, Apple Vision Pro. I know where he lives. Let's rock. I'm just using Beeper as an example.
Well, the thing about this is it's a $3,500 device, and it's going to be lacking some things, and it's new.
Yes.
But my thing about it is it's a VR headset. And granted, it is made of top tier materials, and that's to its complement to it, and it's also a detriment because it is, MKBHD said and others, it is heavy. And
Yes.
maybe that's why the battery pack is so small, because they know after 2.5 hours your head's gonna be hurting, or your neck's gonna be hurting. And as our thumbnail says, when I wore it, I had to have a brace on my neck for a while.
I know that image was pretty good. I mean, how's your neck doing? Has it recovered from?
I had to go through I had to go to a chiropractor and some rehab, but I'm good. That was
Okay,
after an
fair
hour and a
enough.
half of use, so at least I got an hour and a half out of it.
Well, speaking of the battery pack, and thank you for that brilliant segue there. The Apple Vision Pro battery pack. So the Apple Vision Pro is connected by cable to a battery pack that allows you to get about 2 to 3 hours of continuous use.
And suspiciously, in press pictures, that little wire hanging out and plug-in was missing. Isn't that interesting?
Yes. So Apple Vision Pro is hiding, probably Apple's final, fuck you to the EU, is hiding a lightning port, a lightning cable. Now, someone posted this on, I think it might have been on X, that you can remove the cable connecting the battery pack using a SIM card ejector tool in that little slot you may be able to see in the photo there. And whammo, out comes a lightning cable.
Yeah, but what's interesting, that's not a lightning cable. That's like a unique version, which makes it even more proprietary, which is even more big of an FU to the EU.
So it's interesting. Now, I almost wonder if Apple wanted us to discover that, because I think in their marketing genius that Apple is, they're going to sell an upgraded battery pack. A more expensive, higher capacity. They will. And they're going to say, well, guess what? You don't need to buy a brand new Apple Vision Pro. You've already spent a lot of money there, but you will have to plug in with this lightning adapter thing here into your new battery pack, which will probably cost $299 for a battery pack that probably costs about $20 to make.
Mm-hmm.
And because it has its own proprietary port, you're not going to be able to just hook it up to a USB-C Anker battery.
Well, do you think they're getting around this by having that USB-C port that you can plug into it to charge it?
Maybe.
Maybe. But even the connector to the headset is proprietary. You twist it and it clicks. I mean, all of it's proprietary. They're like, oh, USB-C will fall out. I've never had a USB-C port. Even connected when I have my Quest 3 connected to my computer via cable, which I don't anymore, but when I did, it never pulled out unless I literally stepped on the cable. And it was only one cable. I mean, USB-C is not like a loose device. I mean, it sits in there pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, you never pull out, so there's that. But anyway,
True.
With the Apple Vision Pro, there's been a lot of these kind of things. Now, the only other thing that kind of caught my attention this week, and this was an article that came out today, maybe even, sorry. So they've started to kind of give us a sense of what kind of apps are available at launch. And they're saying about 600 native apps, plus 1 million that have been ported over from iOS and iPad. So there are a couple of apps. I'm just going to list some of them. And I want you to kind of just think about this for a second, Jason. Who is this Apple Vision Pro for? Because when I hear this list of apps, I'm not sure if they even know who the demographic of the Apple Vision Pro is. So I'll go through just some examples. Okay. So you're obviously going to have Microsoft. Okay.
Which was announced. Yep.
Yep. Teams, PowerPoint, Outlook.
Hey, is Teams video calls going to have those same blurry
I wonder. Well, Zoom is. The Zoom is. I'll come back to that in a second. Disney Plus. Okay. Got it.
Interesting.
So Zoom will have your 3D virtual avatar.
Nice.
And apparently it'll match your facial expression and hand movements as well. I don't know what the fuck that means.
Well, so does the Apple one. If you go like this and your thumbs up, it kind of pops up into the screen. If you're far
okay.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Yep.
Okay, so sports apps, MLB, NBA, okay. HBO Max, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get into this kind of stuff. Now, I almost wonder if Apple sees this as almost an education tool. So you've got Lowe's Style Studio, which allows you to create essentially like a 3D interactive upgrade to your kitchen or your space and allow you to curate whatever look you're going for. Okay, kind of cool. Then looking down a couple of the list here. So you've got Cell Walk, a tour of a bacteria cell. Complete Heart X, an anatomy, diagnosis, and treatment app.
Well, and MKBHD even showed something. I don't know what. Maybe it was one of those apps you already mentioned, where he had like a F1 Formula One race car, and he was like, and it looks like it's to scale in your room, and then he
Yes.
was like pulling things out, and you can look at the scale, how it looks like, how big it is, which is kind of a cool concept.
But I mean, just looking at some of these, okay, so some of them are legitimately interesting. So IMAX, okay. J. Crew's virtual closet. I know, Jason, you will be all for that.
Definitely J. Crew, yeah.
But a lot of these are design and health apps, which is a bit surprising to me. I'm almost curious as to why.
Well,
so like
maybe they're looking at it as like Google Glass. At first, it was a consumer-based device, and it turned into an enterprise device, and it was used for businesses, hospitals, schools, and maybe that's what maybe Tim Cook is realizing. Look, we're going to throw it out there for this super high price to get the few hands on it and get some feedback, but we're going to send this out to places that will actually use it and not care what it looks like.
Well, I'm actually wondering if they're thinking this is kind of like something they want to eventually get on kids' heads in a classroom. I almost wonder if that's kind of what we're thinking. They're thinking with this. Jason, just hold on. We got our guest standing by, but we'll bring her in just a second. But look, the list of apps was released on Engadget today, but I am curious about what it is that these apps are going to be used for. But speaking of apps, we actually have a very special guest with us coming in today. You like
very
that
nice
segue?
That was a very good segue.
So I'm going to bring in Anya, I believe it is. Hey, Anya, how's it going?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Good. So we are actually very happy to have you on the show. You're actually our very first special guest of the year. And you should be very privileged. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And we were actually just talking about apps on this Apple Vision Pro, which you may or may not have heard about. But we also believe that you are a little bit of an expert when it comes to apps, and you are the creator of. Well, why don't you tell us what you're the creator of, Anya?
Yeah, so I'm the creator of an app called Rooted. It's an app for managing anxiety and panic attacks, and I launched it in 2018. So it's been quite a few years now. We've just passed the 3 million download mark organically, and the reason why I say organically is because we just don't do a lot of advertising. It means users are sharing it with one another, and that's just the path that I chose.
Amazing. Now, just a little bit of a background here, and I've got some stuff on here, Anya. I did some research on you, and hopefully that's okay. So we had she got some recognition for Apple Developer Spotlight 30 Under 30. Canadian Women in Tech that you should know about. 20 women entrepreneurs to watch. Look at you go. Fantastic. Whereabouts are you located, Anya, just out of curiosity?
In British Columbia, in Canada.
Okay, so I'm in Toronto, and Jason is in...
I'm in Ohio.
Ohio?
United States, yep.
Yes. So great to see some homegrown Canadian talent killing it in the app game. But you've actually had quite a lot of awards and recognition for this app. Now, one of the things that Jason and I were talking about off air is, I think there's a lot of people out there who suffer with mental health in 2024. And there are not a lot of options for people to find help, to seek assistance. So what makes Rooted different than, say, like some of the other apps that are out there on the market?
Yeah, so to start, it's focused on panic attacks. So when I was first experiencing panic attacks, I was looking for an app and I couldn't find anything that was helpful. There's a number of different hypnosis apps. There were apps that were like very medical in nature. So, and there weren't many mindfulness apps. This was before the mindfulness app era. And so that's really Rooted's niche focus is, I think, what got its foot in the door when it comes to App Store optimization and the ranking that we have today. So that's one key thing. And then, like you mentioned, with mental health issues, either on the rise or being talked more about, I think there's both sides of that argument. some people are hesitant to reach out to a person. There's sometimes shame associated with experiencing anxiety and panic attacks. So it's nice to have a little helpful app mascot in your pocket. And then the other thing is, of course, financial constraints. It's actually super expensive to see somebody. And while
Yes.
we encourage people to do that, Rooted is meant to be like a symbiotic treatment to therapy and medication, et cetera. We also understand that there's a lot of significant financial barriers to that, and I experienced that myself.
Now, you mentioned your experience, and you said when you were younger you experienced panic attacks. Now, was that brought on by external factors? Was it workload? What was the catalyst for that?
Yeah, so after a lot of hindsight, hindsight is 2020. The most solid explanation I've received from working with therapists and doing self work is I did have a traumatic event happen when I was in high school, and then I went straight to university. I put it off, like I didn't deal with it really. I got
Yeah.
super busy. I took on multiple jobs. I always had classes on the go, and it wasn't until I actually had my first ever break that I had a panic attack. So the
Yeah.
theory there is, so the theory is that all of a sudden I had a little bit of space and it just came crashing.
I think that's an experience for a lot of people, is that it's always when you slow down is when you have the moment of clarity, the moment to, I guess, process, things that have happened in your world. And, I know, and I haven't mentioned this on the podcast before, but I know when my father passed away, he passed away very suddenly of a heart attack. And I had to literally drop work, drop my everyday, obligations and routine, and literally fly to Australia, which is where I'm originally from, to go and deal with essentially planning a funeral and dealing with, my mother's grief and my sister's grief and the family's grief. And, I wasn't aware of Rooted at the time, but I started to feel overwhelmed. I started to have symptoms of what we would consider to be, panic attacks. So, for me, when I read about you and I had a look at the app there, this is something that I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of people can say, you know what, I wish I'd known something like this existed. And I mean, you mentioned yourself that there was nothing out there for yourself. And, I did seek therapy and I seeked assistance to assist me with my issues. And it was very successful and, thankfully so. But Jason, you mentioned something about your wife, I think it was.
Yeah, so just a little bit about, obviously I'm doing this, but I was a counselor for about 9-10 years before I am in the job I'm in now. So when I was looking over your website and the app, I noticed like you tried CBT, like the traditional ways of dealing with this kind of stuff. And the problem with mental health is it's very stigmatized. And I think apps, like, we all carry phones in our hands, and the genius of this app is that looking at it, you can pick it up in your hand and you can say, I'm having a panic attack right now. And you give instant, like, maybe not results, but tools. Yeah. And then not only that, you can actually go back and learn. And what I liked about what I read was you change your relationship with anxiety, because anxiety is always going to be there. It's changing that relationship. So I think my wife deals with this a lot. She has panic attacks and people don't understand. They're like, well, what's wrong with you? Just calm down, take a breath. It's not how it works. And generalized anxiety isn't just one factor. Sometimes it's a multitude of factors, and panic attacks are very scary. So I think I'm going to actually get her on this as soon as I can. I think she'd really benefit from this because, it's one of those biases that, I was a counselor for many years, but I can help other people, but it's hard to take care of yourself. So I think this is, and it's so easy to grab it in your phone and just use it.
Exactly. So just as we were talking about how it's hard to sometimes speak to a person, it's also sometimes hard to get advice from our closest people. So you might have experienced that in your own life where you didn't want to listen to your parents, you didn't want to listen to your partner. And then later you realize, oh, I actually probably should have. But you made another good point there about the availability in your pocket. So the tagline is actually, panic attack and anxiety relief in your pocket. And that's an important part of Rooted.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned the results there, like, we actually do have a ton of people who leave reviews. So we have over 50,000 reviews.
Wow.
And we also hear from people via email all the time, every day. And a lot of folks share like, I wish I knew this existed. I've been struggling with panic attacks for years. And now if I have one, it's gone within minutes. I just have to pull this out of my pocket. So yeah, those are things that, when I was first launching the app, I didn't even know what would happen. And now all these years later, yeah, just it's what keeps me going.
So a question I had for this. So I'm having a panic attack right now, let's just say, and I go into the app and I click, I'm not doing good. Is it something where when you're having a panic attack and you click a certain button or a certain step in the process, is it behind the scenes teaching you future, like next time this happens, you may not have to click the app because you already have a process of maybe how to do it? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking questions. So
yes and no. So
okay.
Basically, the more familiar you are with a tool, the easier you're able to benefit from it when you're in that heightened state of anxiety and stress. But arguably, a lot of what Rooted does is remind you of things that are really hard to remember when you're in that state. So it's things like, you've survived every panic attack you've had to date. Panic attacks typically only last between X and X minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Your parasympathetic nervous system will kick in, even though it doesn't feel like that right now. So it's facts like that are shown to you based on how you're feeling. You can either choose to face the panic attack head on, which is actually really healing in the end, like, really familiarizing yourself with these emotions and feeling okay with them. Or you can choose to have these reminders, like the ones I just gave examples of, to sort of help you coast out of it and get that parasympathetic nervous system kicking a little sooner. And so the idea is you kind of always want to have it in your pocket, because when you do pull it out, those are things that are really hard to remember. But of course, I encourage users, especially with the breathing tool, there's also breathing and visualizations. If you're practicing those outside of when you're in that heightened state of anxiety, you're better able to call on them when you are.
Yeah, and those are the kind of tools that people kind of forget, like the deep breathing and that stuff is huge right now. And in the field I'm in now, we've got a lot of compassion fatigue is what they call it. So they teach us those mindful things like, hey, you're going to have some burnout, so why don't you take a break and do these now? You got to take it seriously. But I think this app is so convenient and it reminds you of those things. Like I have to go through a PowerPoint and it's not very friendly at all. Yeah. But this is like in your
very
pocket.
clinical.
Yeah. And you can click on it. It's simple. It's not complicated and anybody can use it. And I think this is just one more step closer to getting rid of that stigma. Like, hey, we all have this. It's definitely beneficial.
Now my question, sorry, Anya, it was, so I don't know too much about panic attacks, but what are some of the factors that are the most common causes of panic attacks in people?
So that can really vary person to person. And like you were saying earlier, everybody has having anxiety itself is natural, right? We were kind of born with it. We have a fight or flight system. We're able to identify and run away from danger as needed.
Yes. Yep.
The problem is when our brain starts picking up on things that are making us feel just as anxious, but there's no actual tiger in the room, so to speak, right?
Yes.
So there's no necessary reason to activate that fight or flight. But it's definitely different in everybody, like the reason why it would start.
Because I know for us, like we're very much into tech and tech related stuff, but we talk a lot about how it could sometimes be very overwhelming. Like some of the stuff that we are expected to invest our time in, our money, our attention in, and one of those things that I think you mentioned on the side here is about social media, and on social media. It tends to cause a lot of anxiety in people these days because there is this kind of, I guess, established system of comparing ourselves to what other people have and what they buy and what we perceive to be a better life. And I think, for a lot of our listeners who are out there, I think a lot of this, as you said, panic attacks are brought on by a lot of things, but I think it would probably be a pretty common thing among people in the tech space to be experiencing panic attacks because of some of the nature of what social media is actually like. One of the things I love about your app is that you actually give the opportunity for people to try it for free. and download it and just see what it's about. And I think that's a pretty smart play for an app that's trying to kind of make its way onto people's devices. And I always think about, you know, all the apps that I use regularly. I think there's a big push in the smartphone space and in the tech space for apps that, as Jason said, are convenient, that you can just pull out and say, okay, you know, I need to calm myself down or whatever. And I always kind of come back to the meditation apps, like the apps like Calm and stuff like that, which are designed to kind of, you know, bring you out of your world for a few moments. So how do you have, what I'm asking is, do you have any plans for other apps or other features within the app to target other areas of mental health?
Yeah, so when we first started, the main focus was panic attacks very specifically. And then over time, because we were having so many other users write in, we realized that folks with general anxiety were also looking for more generalized support. So that's when the visualizations came in. And then we had a number of folks who were sharing that they have a lot of trouble sleeping. And that's where our sleep stories came in. And so those have been added on. However, they're all still under that umbrella because folks with panic attacks will still have anxiety and trouble sleeping. So I don't want to veer away too much from anything, because one of the core, I think, differentiators about Rooted is that I am very familiar with the actual problem.
Yes.
And yeah, you'll see a lot of the reviews will say things like, oh, I finally feel seen. I finally feel heard. And I think that that comes from basically when I was writing content, I mean, I was in their shoes. And so I really want to I want to work on things that I'm very familiar with and that I know really well and I can really get 100% behind. So that's why I don't want to veer off into other things. I want to focus on my niche.
And look, I mean, sorry,
sure.
Jace, go ahead.
No, I mean, I mean, it makes sense. That's what you know, and you're going to connect with those individuals. And I hate to say that, well, I shouldn't say I hate. I just downloaded it I have it on my Google Pixel, but I'm gonna download it on my.
Just downloaded it myself.
Too.
Yeah.
There's no. I'm gonna assume, and this is kind of a dumb question. There's probably no real differences between the apps on iOS or Android. They're probably pretty similar.
Yep, they're as similar as possible. There are certain things that, different dialogues and stuff, like different Android versus iOS rules, but we try to keep them as similar as possible to provide a unified experience.
Okay.
And look, I mean, for everybody that's listening at home or will listen to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please check out Rooted. It is available for both Android and Apple devices. And look, I mean, we're always going to be a big proponents of and the biggest supporters of apps that are actually beneficial to people's lives. So we thank you very much for coming on to talk to us about Rooted. We appreciate everything that you're doing for people that are suffering from panic attacks. The website is called rooted.io, and you can check out the apps themselves on the App Store. And thank you very much for joining us, Anya. We appreciate you being with us here today.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, honestly, this app is fascinating to me because you've seen things like Calm, which does one thing. You see, what's the other? What's that new one? Social media people, BetterHelp or whatever, where you have like a person you talk to, and those are great in its own respect. But this is a non-invasive, friendly, easy to use app, and everybody, I don't care who you are, deals with anxiety. Now, again, panic attacks, generalized anxiety, that kind of stuff is a little more extreme. It's kind of like depression. We all suffer from depression, but when it gets severe, it can be a problem. And I think the way she's tackling it in this app is fantastic. And just speaking with her, she knows what she's talking about. So again, if you guys are listening, go to the Google Play Store and the Apple Play or the App Store, download ROOTD. It is like a subscription. I think there is eventually a subscription, but it is free initially. Get in there and try it for free. See if you like it, and if you're suffering, you'd be surprised. This might actually help. And if it's, what is it? I don't know what it is a month, but counseling appointments, doctor's appointments are a lot more expensive. This is something that I'm not saying this is going to replace your psychiatrist or your doctor, but it's definitely something that can not augment, but add to those experiences, and it might actually help. So,
And look,
mean,
you can.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can never put a price on your health. And I think
no.
that's, I like Jason said, it's very expensive to go to see some of these medical professionals regarding some of these issues. And I think there's also a bit of a fear that people don't want to admit that there's a problem and,
Yes.
go into to receive, the help that they need. So,
well, as a counselor myself, people would come in and like, I'm not crazy, am I? I'm like, well, crazy is not a clinical term. Insanity is not a clinical term we use. But people are still, it's more, mental health is more understood today, but it's still got a stigma. And so it is very difficult for people to take that step. So this is the first step if you have it. And like I said, anxiety affects everybody. And if you have stress and it is severe, you can be physically ill from that. It can cause more issues. So like I said, I don't want to keep like talking it up, but it sounds like I really am going to try this and maybe even get my family involved too, because it sounds like it's something we could all benefit from. So
100%. And look, thank you very much, Anya. If I know you're listening, probably backstage here. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on Tech Disruptors. Now, listen. Speaking of anxiety, this week there's been a lot of anxiety about a particular tech product that was released in the last couple of weeks, and that is the Samsung S24.
I don't have any anxiety. It's a great device.
Yes, it absolutely is a great device. I completely admit with you. However, there's been a lot of chirping and talking on social media about the screen itself. And people are saying, coming from, say, like the previous generation of the S23, what am I doing? Here we go. From the S23 Ultra, people are saying that they're experiencing essentially what a lot of people are describing as like a dull or dim display when it comes to colors in particular. Now, I have the device in hand, and I know Jason has the device in hand. So
mine's a better color than yours, but yeah, anyways, go ahead.
Well, mine's in a black case, so, anyway. So coming from the Pixel 8 Pro, and I'll just use this as a contextual thing. I don't know what people are talking about.
Well, the only thing I can think of is it's not rounded on the edges, so maybe there's a slight different look to it. Because when they rounded around the edge in the last year, there was a little bit of like a blur, maybe like I don't know, like a reflection.
Yeah,
but yeah. This screen is a Samsung.
It's
I know
really
they make screens for Apple and whoever else.
Yeah.
But this screen is by far the best screen I've seen this year, which is very early in the year. But I'm going to go on record here and say by the end of this year, this will still be in the top 5 of best screens on a cell phone.
Well, I mean, look, a lot of people have been talking about it, saying that colors don't quite look as vibrant in vibrant mode, which is one of the display settings. I mean, okay, if we were going to call a spade, maybe you could make an argument that they're a little more true to life, the colors.
That's not what we want.
Yes, but I mean, this is what I'm getting at. I almost think it's a default by design trick here. I feel like Samsung came out of the gate hot because they wanted to create not only an amazing screen, but a color accurate screen. And making a color accurate screen sometimes comes at the cost of things like vibrancy or color accuracy, etc. Apparently, Samsung has acknowledged that there is a slight problem. I imagine that the end. Well, according to
here's what's funny. So you're saying these colors might be more natural. We always talk about I want my camera to be all natural, but what cameras win? It's the ones that are vibrant and oversaturated.
Yes.
So we don't want to live in the world we live in. We want to live in something that's better. And I think that's the problem. Samsung, true to colors is what we really should want. But what we really want when we do this blind camera test, if one's brighter or more saturated, guess who's going to win?
I honestly imagine the engineers at Samsung are probably sitting there going, all right, let's just get that vibrance and just crank it all the way up, and colors, let's just jack up that fader all the way up. And they're just going to make the screen a lot more poppy with colors. Now, arguably, for some people, that might be a worse solution. because it'll mean
What?
that vibrant mode is too vibrant. And when you have two vibrant
yeah.
colors look bizarre. They look weird.
Yeah, but that's the thing though with the display settings, you can change them. If you don't want vibrant,
Yes.
change it to something else. So it's not like
Yeah.
they're making you, forcing you to buy, buy into whatever there's, whatever. Okay. Anyway,
But I think it only applies to the vibrant mode, from what I understand.
Mhm.
People complaining that people that want to have all those colors jacked up to 11, maybe they're sit at more like an 8 than an 11. So I imagine they're just going to crank up the color slider and just be done with it in the software update. I don't imagine the engineers at Samsung are going back to square one on the screen, because the screen besides that is actually pretty freaking awesome.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. I know it's been bothering a lot of people. There's been a lot of talk about it
I
online.
haven't really heard much about this, but what I have heard a lot about, and I don't know if you're still on the S24. So
Yeah.
obviously the S23 to S24 was kind of an iterative update.
Yes.
Did you see the leak that I sent you in Telegram?
On
Of
the
the Fold
Z,
6.
yes.
So
Hang on,
if this
I'm
is
gonna-
true, they're taking a page between the Pixel Fold and the Oppo or OnePlus Open. They're kind of making a mishmash of both. And it does
Yes.
fold. It looks, I'm telling you right now, if that's the device, that's the folding device to beat this year. If the cameras are better and that's
Yes.
the form factor, I mean, Samsung's got it nailed down with software. I mean, I'm not saying OnePlus Open doesn't. It's their first device, kind of. But Samsung's been doing it for 5 years. I mean, this is the sixth generation, and I'm telling you, this is it right here. I hope this is what it looks like.
Well, I mean, we all saw when the Z Fold 5 came out, you remember that they did the tour of the Samsung studio engineering plant, and they saw prototypes of what people considered to be the next Z Fold 6. And it did look a lot like what you see here.
Right.
I mean, look, Samsung would be a bunch of dumbasses if they released the exact same form factor again, especially given the success of the Pixel
Well,
Fold,
yes.
OnePlus Open.
If there was no competition, why change?
Yes.
What don't fix what's not? If it's not broken, don't fix it. But
Yes.
now they've got pressure. Who cares about Apple, if whether they do it or not? But I'm saying in
Yeah.
the Android, at least in the U.S., we only have the Pixel, the Samsung, and the OnePlus. That's all we have. We don't have Honor. We don't have Vivo. We don't have Oppo. I
Yeah.
know in Canada you guys get a little more options, but this form factor, I still have the Pixel Fold, and that's the only folding device I've kept because I love the form factor.
Yes.
I don't use it for gaming, but I don't really care. It does what it needs to do for me. I like opening to a wide screen, not a square. But I'm like in the minority because most people disagree with me, but I don't care.
And I mean, look, again, we knew, we said it for all along that I said it last week that the S24 Ultra was going to be the iterative update and the Z Fold 6 will be getting the major update and it'll flip next year.
Yes. Every other
I
year
think-
it's going to happen.
Yeah. I honestly feel like that's what Samsung's
Well, let me ask you
doing.
this. Is
Yeah.
the Flip 6 something they can really change?
I don't think they're going to do much with the Flip 6. I reckon a bigger battery.
Better cameras?
Maybe better cameras. I don't imagine at all them changing the form factor of the 6. I only think that because the 6 was kind of updated last year. That was the folding
Yeah.
device that got the update.
Sure,
So the
true.
Z Fold has had it coming for a while now. Hasn't had a real major change since the 4. So, I mean, look, again, they would be dumb to not release a device that was at least something like this form factor. The hinge they nailed on the Z Fold 5, the software works really well.
I never had the 5. I had the 4, and I loved that device.
Yes.
I don't need 18,000 phones, and I don't need 15 foldings. So
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I still have my Oppo Find N3. I do like the form factor. I will hang on to that until something better comes along. The Pixel Fold wasn't for me. I tried it. It was a bit too heavy, a bit too pixely for my liking.
Okay.
But
okay.
I will just say this much. If Samsung does release this device, I have a funny feeling that their sales are going to go absolutely
Well, the
gangbusters.
other rumor is this will not be available in Canada.
Oh,
so
right.
there's
Yeah.
that,
Like the
yeah.
Pixel Fold.
So
Yeah,
what I'll
Google.
do is I'll buy a couple of them and just show it off so you can be jealous.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, look,
Pixely, there you
Google-
go. Pixely.
Google, if you're listening, well, I'd still like to try the Pixel Fold, the second generation. Hopefully, it does make its way to your nearest neighbor, Canada.
Well,
But
the other
what a-
rumor is, but Pixely rumor is that the next Pixel Watch will have 2 sizes.
And yes,
If
that
you
would also
care.
be a welcome change. Well, speaking of Google, and I was going to ask you this, given now talking about the S24
Yes.
Ultra. So one of the headlining features of the S24 Ultra was this circle to search. So essentially, you tap and hold the bottom of your phone,
Mhm.
you circle any object on the screen, and Google's AI will identify the object and give
Mhm.
you links to buy it, find it, see it, whatever.
Sure.
About
It's
a week
like
later,
the Pixel thing. It's like the Magic camera when you take a picture and it scans.
yes.
It's very similar to that, but you can do anything on your screen.
So a week later, Google releases the exact same feature on their Pixel lines of phones, and
Well, it should be.
works. Yeah, and it works just as well.
Mhm.
Now, here is my question. So Samsung talked a lot about Circle to Search. It was one of their headlining features in the AI software side of things. So I guess my question for you would be, now that Google's kind of just stolen it away and has put it in their Pixel phones, if that was the headlining AI feature of the S24 line, is there a reason to buy the S24
Yes.
anymore?
So here's the difference between Apple and Android.
Okay, here we go.
iOS
Lesson number
with-
one.
With
Yes.
Apple, you get what you get, and you don't throw
Yeah.
a fit. That's what you tell your little kids when they're growing up.
Yes.
With Android, it's not just about circle to search. Now, we know for a fact Google pretty much handed this to Samsung and get, hey,
Yes.
you get 2 weeks ahead of us. Same with their watches. You get Wear OS 3.5 a year before anybody else, whatever. But some people prefer Samsung devices because they work with the tablets, the TVs,
Yeah.
smart things, One UI, the pen, the versatile camera. Whether you think they're better or not, probably not better at photos than the Pixel, but I argue that they are probably more versatile, maybe. So I think the Pixel 8 is my favorite phone, but the S24 is more powerful, probably more
Yes.
efficient, bigger screen, better screen. So I mean, there's benefits to both. AI wise, maybe the only benefit of having a Samsung is maybe with the Snapdragon, you might have quicker results, maybe.
Yeah.
But you're if you're a Pixel
Splitting
person,
hairs.
yeah, but Pixel's like it's got its own. What is it? It's got its own like
Charm.
charm. Yeah, and same with Sam.
Yeah.
Every Android device has its own charm. Sony has its own thing. When LG was around, they had their own thing. Asus has their. And that's what you find is you have options. But like we always say, be different but be the same. We're all different, but we're
Yeah.
all together. It's all Android in the day, so you can.
But
still
if
do
it
your
ain't
device.
Apple,
it ain't shit. Yeah.
that's exactly
Okay,
right. That's how
TM,
I would say it,
TM,
right?
trademark.
TM, yeah. I will just say this much: I did try it on both devices, and I did
Uh-huh.
find the speed to be pretty on par with both. I mean, that's also dependent on things like your connectivity speeds and
Well,
signal and
See, I
whatnot.
live my life a quarter mile at a time, so
Right, fair
I
enough.
prefer the speed of the Snapdragon. But no, just kidding.
Well, I mean, look, for the Snapdragon Gen 3 is meant to be, the big ticket hot item on all Android phones this year. And I've tried 2 devices so far that have the Snapdragon Gen 3. And comparably to the Tensor G3, it's a little bit faster. I wouldn't say it's like busted out of the track kind of fast.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a lot more efficient and cooler. Not
Yeah.
cooler as in like cool, like temperature wise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I see a big difference, but it depends on what you're doing. Day-to-day tasks, swiping through stuff. Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
There's a handful of games I like to play when I'm down, like to release stress. Like I have a couple driving games. I do ray tracing.
Yeah.
And my kids play Roblox a lot, so I jump in that. And the Tensor is noticeably worse. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're not building a gaming centric phone, So
No.
and
no,
every
exactly.
and every iteration, the Tensor has gotten a little bit better and a little bit better. So I'm not too worried about it. I love the Google phone and the pictures and the videos getting better. And Samsung's doing the same thing. They're mimicking Google. Same year support, better
Yes.
cameras every year. I guess if you don't ask Darren that question, but most people would say they're better cameras. So it's just one of those things where you just got to pick who you want. And whether you're Samsung and I'm Google, or you're OnePlus and I'm Sony, who cares? We're all on the same team, and we can all chat together without having a green bubble. So
yeah. And, sometimes in the tech space, people can actually just voice their opinion and not be chastised because of it. But anyway,
whoa, what are you talking about?
On that note, just want to give a big shout out to our new Tech Disruptors swag. Look at that. Thank you, Jason, for credit. My mug's upstairs. I didn't get a chance to wash it, and I was going to put some gin/water in there.
You mean coffee?
I mean coffee, yes.
Right.
But Tech Disruptors swag, Jason designed our lovely swag here. And if you are interested in getting yourself some Tech Disruptors swag, let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe. Just saying. The more interest we get, the better. Maybe we'll get like on the back of it. If it ain't Apple, it ain't shit.
Yes.
Which would
I want one of those shirts for sure.
I'm gonna work on that this weekend. I'm gonna get some a swag store set up. If it ain't Apple, it ain't shit. And listen, if you hear anyone
not
else
sponsored, but we need to get Shopify.
Absolutely, yes, we need Shopify on board.
Gotta get some plushies. A Darren and Jason plushie.
Oh my god, can you imagine like a dashboard bobblehead? That would be amazing.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be amazing. But anyway,
no one wants my bobblehead on their desk. But anyways,
I don't know. I mean, we could make it more lifelike and true to size, and
right.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, on that note, that actually brings us to the end of the Tech Disruptors podcast. Big thank you to Anya from Rooted, the app Rooted, for joining us tonight. If you enjoyed our little talk with Anya there, and you want to see more of that kind of content, please let us know. We're always interested in everything tech and tech related, and
make sure you check out Rooted. Go to the website, look it up on the app stores to your device, and just see what it's about. I'm not saying you have to download it and install it, but if you're interested and you have some stress related issues, look at it and see what it can do for you.
100%. So listen, we are available on YouTube. Hit that like, subscribe button. We are on X, Disruptors 2024. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere else you can find a good, decent podcast. Even iHeartRadio. Who doesn't love iHeartRadio? But thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate you all. Thank you for everybody that's our regular guest. And thank you to everybody that's been listening in the chat. We appreciate you. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.